got to the point where I would take 15 to 20 sometimes in a night.
A powerful drug may be creeping into the threat matrix of addiction and death. It's called gabapentin.
You're posing an added risk on people that they might not even be aware of.
This week, a full measure investigation into one of America's most widely prescribed drugs that some watchdogs say could be creating an opioid-like nightmare scenario for some.
I'm abusing this drug, and it's gotten out of hand.
And the odd dichotomy of cryptocurrency.
The problem with Bitcoin is that it's wasteful by design, is that to create Bitcoin, you need to waste energy.
We look at using old-school energy to produce new-age currency.
There has been some outside criticism that says the IRS treats high-income earners better in some instances than low-income earners. Did you find that that was the case?
We examined the equality of audits at the IRS.
And liftoff of Artemis 1.
And America is heading back to the moon.
This time we're going to stay, and then we're going to Mars.
Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. Today we begin with a medicine that has quietly become one of the most widely prescribed drugs in America, gabapentin. It's most often given for illnesses it wasn't FDA approved to treat. That practice is legal, but some watchdogs say gabapentin's allegedly addictive qualities, side effects, and how it dovetails with record opioid deaths are reason for caution.
Leo Ashline is in an alternative band called Street Sex in Austin, Texas. Here in Russia in 2019, he was 9 years sober after a cocaine and alcohol addiction. That was just before his battle with gabapentin began. He was given the medicine for anxiety. The FDA originally approved gabapentin in 1993 for seizure disorder, then later for nerve pain after shingles rash. Doctors now prescribe it for all kinds of unapproved or off-label uses. As a former addict, Ashline was relieved by his prescriber's assurances.
Don't they say this is a non-addictive drug?
That was the thing, yeah. I told her about my history with addiction, and she said this is a drug for anxiety that's safe for people with addiction issues.
How much would you say you were taking, and for how long before you started saying to yourself, or something happened that made you think there was a problem?
I noticed it wasn't really doing a lot for me when I took it, so I kind of just didn't take it. Then one day I got into an argument with my girlfriend that was really stressful, and afterwards I took like 3 or 4 of them, and then I noticed an immediate change, and I was like, oh, that's how that works. You got to take enough of it. It ramped up pretty quickly. I mean, it got to the point where I would take 15 to 20 sometimes in a night.
Is that because you needed more to give you the same feeling or relaxation, or you just wanted more and more for more feeling?
I think eventually I was just taking more because I was, back to that addiction mentality where like this stuff makes me feel good. When I wouldn't take them, it was bad withdrawals. Like it was like, the withdrawal symptoms felt exactly like the withdrawal symptoms from alcohol, where it was like sweating and shaky, and it's you can't function without it. The anxiety just went through the roof.
And how did it get to the point where you thought it was a problem?
I remember realizing it was a problem when I was taking them, and then I tried to crush them up and snort them at one point, and that didn't really work the way I wanted it to. But once I was doing that, and I had tried that, I'm really like, I know what I'm doing now. I am abusing this drug, and it's gotten out of hand. But then by that point, like, it was too late.
He had blackouts, started using crack cocaine again, pawned his belongings, and lost everything. Ashline says he lived that way for about 3 months until he checked himself into rehab on New Year's Eve, 2021. Critics say one factor behind the popularity of gabapentin prescriptions was allegedly illegal marketing by its maker. In 2014, Pfizer admitted no wrongdoing, but settled 2 giant lawsuits, paying $325 million to resolve claims it boosted profits by marketing gabapentin for unapproved uses, which drug companies aren't allowed to do, and paying $190 million to settle accusations it took steps to keep cheaper, generic versions off the market.
Virtually all of gabapentin that's being prescribed are for indications that were not approved by the FDA.
Michael Abrams is a senior health researcher with Public Citizen. He says today, gabapentin is often given with opioids, and it's proving to be addictive and deadly.
It turns out that gabapentin is also a respiratory depressant, and it's used to treat pain. So it's would be perfectly imaginable for a clinician to say, oh, let's try a little bit of opioid and let's try a little bit of gabapentin. Combine them together, you're posing an added risk on people that they might not even be aware of.
Gabapentin has also become a driver behind the surge of opioid deaths. This study, Gabapentin increasingly implicated in overdose deaths, says the drug was found in the bodies of 1 in 10 overdose deaths in 2019 and 2020. A study in Scotland found gabapentin and a related drug were responsible for 1/3 of accidental drug-related deaths.
So it's become a way to sort of enhance their high, if you will. So really the key thing is that we're trying to mitigate this risk of respiratory depression and death.
Public Citizen has filed a petition to have gabapentin prescriptions controlled under the Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, making it what's called a Schedule 5 drug.
What would that do in practice if gabapentin is placed on Schedule 5?
It would require that anybody who prescribes gabapentin has to be licensed with the Drug Enforcement Administration to handle a controlled substance. Then the other thing that it would require is it would require manufacturers, pharmacists, the doctors themselves to record the number of pills that they were dispensing and clearly label things for the patient to see on the bottle that they were getting a controlled substance.
Dr. Brian Callahan of the University of Michigan is against new controls on gabapentin.
Nerve pain is super common, and gabapentin is one of the it's effective, and we don't have that many things that are effective. And so I think it's important to have it be available to patients.
He helped develop American Academy of Neurology guidelines for treating painful diabetic nerve pain and says gabapentin is an important alternative to more problematic opioids.
You know, we should be pointing people towards gabapentin and other medicines like it and away from opioids, whereas this regulation kind of would do the opposite.
It's been a rough road, but Ashline is clean again, back with his girlfriend and making music with his bandmate after a 1.5 year loss.
What have you learned that you think is important about gabapentin?
If you have any kind of addictive personality or addiction is a problem for you, then you shouldn't take it. And it just kind of seems like maybe there should be more information, there should be more of a warning associated with it, you know.
On the one hand, while gabapentin is being prescribed for an ever-widening variety of ailments, on the other hand, the government is giving out millions of dollars in taxpayer-funded grants to study its impact on and role in the opioid epidemic. Coming up next on Full Measure, creating the newest form of currency using an age-old power source. You've probably been hearing about the collapse of FTX, an exchange where people could buy and sell cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. It's now mired in investigations into alleged mishandling of customer money and founder Sam Bankman-Fried, one of the largest donors to Democrats. Our next story explores another controversy related to the murky world of cryptocurrency. It has to do with tapping into an age-old power source to create Bitcoin.
How do you like this hide contraption?
Bill Spence is a pioneer on the forefront of a new high-tech trend.
I always say, you know, it's like America and the world had a party at our house, and then they left and went home, and we're cleaning up.
He's in the business of cleaning up toxic waste coal piled up across Pennsylvania. burning it at a scrub grass power plant in a special way that generates electricity and an ash that's approved safe to put back in the land so people can grow plants on it and build on it again. Scrubgrass used to sit dormant in the overnight hours until Spence came up with a bright new idea.
I had begun to read about cryptocurrency, and consequently, I approached the guys here and said, have you heard about Bitcoin? And, let's look into that. And we started to buy some machines, plug them in, started to run it, started to see revenue.
Backing up for a moment, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that doesn't exist in physical form. The coins are generated or mined using computers in an incredibly complex process designed by Bitcoin's anonymous creator. The process gets increasingly difficult over time to limit how many coins are created, how fast. The main thing you need to know here is that mining Bitcoin typically requires supercomputers that use tons of energy. Step one of Spence's plan to start burning waste coal for Bitcoin involved buying thousands of computers.
These are small computers that search the internet for blockchain, which is a blockchain is basically a identification system for the coin.
Fully converted today, Scrubgrass is busy generating Bitcoin when it's not feeding electricity to the public grid.
It's like a train track switch that goes back and forth between the data center and the grid as needed.
At a glance, it's all upside, cleaning up toxic waste coal, creating jobs, and making money from Bitcoin. But there's fierce opposition.
The problem with Bitcoin is that it's wasteful by design, is that to create Bitcoin, you need to waste energy.
Rob Altenberg of the environmental group Penn Future says there's a huge cost to burning waste coal for Bitcoin.
It's far more polluting than even regular coal. It's the most polluting energy source we have in the state. They're claiming it's environmentally beneficial because they're removing these piles of waste coal. What they're not mentioning is when you burn it, you're polluting the air.
What is it about Bitcoin that takes so much energy?
It's a race to essentially guess a number faster than anybody else. And the first person to guess a number that qualifies is rewarded with new Bitcoins. So we've had something of an arms race where people use vast amounts of money and vast amounts of energy to build mining systems to win the race.
Part of his gripe is that because Pennsylvania gives subsidies to waste coal power plants like Scrubgrass, taxpayers end up supporting the Bitcoin operations.
We shouldn't be subsidizing wasting energy. We can have cryptocurrency, we can have blockchain, we can have all these new technologies, but there are ways to do it that don't waste energy.
That may be, but using waste coal or coal power plants to mine Bitcoin is catching on. Besides Pennsylvania, they're doing it in New York, Missouri, and Montana. The whole idea is so new, the federal government hasn't stepped in to regulate it yet. There are signs that's coming. Regulating too hard risks letting China, which already dominates Bitcoin mining, run away with it. Spence admits his plant pollutes, but he says leave the waste coal alone and it can catch fire spontaneously.
That pink is where it's already caught on fire.
Sending some toxins and cancer-causing pollutants into the air and water that are scrubbed out if burned in the plant.
I think what people need to look at is expand their fear factor to get into the gray area and accept it and start to look at, potentially ways that would help their community generate electricity. Maybe it's not 100% perfect, but it's better than as it exists in its sort of the state it's at right now. So, you work towards perfection, not immediately capture it.
In the past year or so, the price of a Bitcoin has been as high as $68,000 and frequently hovered around $16,000. After a break, should the IRS audit more multimillionaires? The Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act includes $80 billion tax dollars for the IRS over the next 10 years, enough to hire 87,000 new agents at $100,000 a year. Some critics say America's tax agents spend too much effort harassing the little guy while bypassing multimillionaires. James McTighe heads up the tax policy at the General Accountability Office, a government investigative agency, which recently examined IRS audit trends.
In 2010, IRS audited basically 9 people out of 1,000, and today it has fallen to fewer than 3 in 1,000.
But the concern over not having enough people audited potentially must lie in the idea that money is being lost somehow.
Studies have shown that taxpayers are more likely to comply and make payment if they think IRS may be checking up on them. And everyone is not really delighted to pay their taxes, but if I know you're paying your taxes, that makes me feel a little bit better about me paying my taxes, or my neighbor, and vice versa. So that's why it's critically important.
So in simple terms, what did you study and what did you find?
We looked at IRS audit rates over the last 10 years or so, and broken out by income. And what we found is that over that period, audit rates have declined across the board, both for high-income taxpayers as well as low-income taxpayers. They've declined a little bit greater for higher-income taxpayers than lower-income taxpayers, but still, audit rates are about a third of what they were back in 2010.
There has been some outside criticism that says the IRS treats high-income earners better in some instances than low-income earners. Did you find that that was the case, that there could be more money they would get through audits of the high-income earners, but they're gravitating to more low-income earners?
We didn't see that specifically. You know, what we did see is that on average, the additional tax collected from a high-income audit is about 50 times what it is for a lower-income audit. So in terms of bang for the buck, the audits of the highest income, highest earning individuals, those with incomes in excess of $5 million annually, those do have a higher return on investment.
If when the IRS audits someone making above $5 million a year, they're more likely to get a lot more taxpayer money that hadn't been properly paid, why don't they spend more time auditing that population?
Well, as our report did show, IRS does spend a lot of time auditing that population, and in fact audits that population at the highest rate, you know, when broken out by income. The problem is that those tax returns tend to be very complex. It's very labor intensive, requires a lot of audit hours, and also requires a fair amount of not just a fair amount of expertise, but a very high level of expertise. And it takes time to train and develop the expertise that is needed to go after these higher income, really well-financed in terms of their tax and accounting advice. So IRS, to some extent, has been outgunned.
IRS staffing was over 100,000 in 2010. That had been cut back to about 75,000, but now, with the new money, the agency is well on its way past its previous mark. When we come back, a new small step for man comes with a giant bill for taxpayers. NASA's Orion rocket is nearing the end of its historic unmanned mission to the moon, the first step toward returning man to the lunar satellite and then venturing where no man has gone before. Lisa Fletcher has more on the Artemis mission and taxpayer costs.
For 4.5 billion years, it's been there, silently circling our planet. Now, it could become our stepping stone to the universe.
3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1.
When Artemis 1 lifted off last month from the coast of Florida, it represented the start of a new era for NASA and human space exploration.
It's 1 small step for man.
One that continues a journey begun in 1969.
We're going back to the moon. This time we're going to stay, and then we're going to Mars.
Bill Nelson is the administrator of NASA. A former Florida senator, he's also one of only 2 members of Congress to ever go into space.
Why go back to the moon first?
That gives us the opportunity to learn how to live and work in that very hostile environment.
This first mission is designed to test everything without risking human astronauts.
We would never put humans on this one because we are pushing it to the limit.
Getting back to the moon has required a new rocket with even more power than the Saturn V that lifted the Apollo missions. Full Measure got an inside look at it earlier this summer as it was being prepared.
Think about something the size of the Statue of Liberty, and we're going to get it going 25,000 miles per hour.
Jeremy Parsons is Deputy Program Manager for Ground Exploration Systems.
When we start talking about going to the moon, we're talking 230,000 miles, 3 days away. And we haven't done that for a very long time, since the final Apollo mission. And so there's a lot of things that we have to necessarily relearn, like the heat shield, right?
That heat shield gets its big test when the spacecraft returns to Earth. A crucial moment for a program that's already burned through $40 billion and is on track to spend much more.
When you're talking about building machinery like this to the limits of science, the costs are extraordinary. The Inspector General for NASA recently said that the $4 billion per launch price tag is unsustainable.
Well, that's the development cost all piled into that. I mean, it takes a lot of money to build a new rocket, but when you start amortizing that cost over 1 per year over an entire decade, then you start to get your costs down.
Teams continue monitoring the flight of Artemis 1.
Some call Artemis the new Apollo, with its bigger rocket and budget. But today's goals far exceed what was done 50 years ago. And this time, if it works, the moon won't be the finish. It'll be where mankind starts its next giant leap. For Full Measure, I'm Lisa Fletcher in Florida.
Coming up next week on Full Measure, the media said voters would never pass it, but they did. We travel overseas to get the after-action report on Brexit, Great Britain's historic breakaway from the European Union. It's been 6 years since the Brexit vote. What is the current sentiment, would you say, overall?
Well, there's certainly buyer's remorse.
How the Brexit divorce is going and what's ahead next week on Full Measure. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm Sharyl Attkisson, and we leave you with a few scenes from The Moonshot.